You're standing on a dealership lot, staring at a window sticker. It says 300 horsepower. You immediately think of speed. You think of 0 to 60 times. You think of a thundering herd of stallions charging across a plain. But what if I told you that the very definition of that number, the way we actually measure it, has nothing to do with running fast, and everything to do with stopping? The B in BHP stands for brake, and that isn't a metaphor. The literal origin of our most famous automotive metric involves a giant wooden clamp trying to crush an engine's soul until it stops spinning. Today, we're tearing down the physics of the brake in horsepower to understand why the most powerful machines on Earth are defined by their ability to resist a stop. To understand the brake, we first have to understand the man, James Watt. In the late 1700s, Watt didn't just invent a better steam engine, he invented a way to sell it. His customers were mine owners who used literal horses to haul water out of the ground. If Watt wanted them to buy his engine, he needed a unit of measurement they'd understand. He watched pit ponies at work and calculated that a single pony could pull about 150 pounds while walking at a pace of 2.5 miles per hour. After a bit of rounding up for marketing's sake, he landed on the magic number, 33,000 foot-pounds of work per minute. But here's the catch. Measuring a horse is easy. You just watch it pull. But how do you measure the raw, invisible energy of a spinning metal shaft? You can't just tie a horse to it. You need a way to quantify the resistance that engine can overcome. Enter the deep dive. How do we turn a spinning shaft into a number? In 1821, a French engineer named Gaspard de Prony solved this by inventing the Prony brake. Imagine a massive, rotating flywheel attached to an engine. Now, imagine taking two huge blocks of wood, clamping them around that flywheel, and tightening the bolts until the friction is so intense the engine nearly chokes. By attaching a long lever arm to those wooden blocks and measuring how much force that arm pressed down on a scale, Prony could calculate the engine's torque. This is the secret. Torque is the twist, but horsepower is the rate. If you know how hard the engine is pushing against that brake, that's the torque. And you know how fast it's spinning while doing it, that's the RPM. You have the formula. This is why we call it brake horsepower. It is the measure of an engine's power at the crankshaft before any losses from the transmission or tires, specifically measured by how much braking force is required to balance its output. But don't think for a second that this is just ancient history. Every modern car you see was tested on a descendant of Prony's clamp, the dynamometer. Modern water brake dynos use the resistance of water being tossed around a drum to create that braking force. Electric dynos use electromagnetic induction, but the principle remains the same. To find out how much go you have to find out how much stop you can fight through. In the 1960s, manufacturers used gross horsepower, measuring the engine with no water pump, no alternator, and no muffler. It was a lie. By 1972, the industry shifted to SAE net, which measures BHP with all the accessories attached. This is why a 1971 Mustang seemingly lost 100 horsepower overnight. The engine didn't change, but the way we applied the brake did. So, what does this mean for you when you're merging onto the highway? It means that the horsepower number you see is a measurement of potential energy production against resistance. When we talk about electric vehicles, the brake in horsepower gets even more interesting. EVs have nearly 100% of their torque available at 0 RPM. In a traditional internal combustion engine, the brake easily wins at low speeds because the engine hasn't built up momentum. But an EV fights the brake with maximum violence from the first millisecond. This shift in how we apply force is changing everything, from how we design tires to how we build our roads. We are living in an era where the brake isn't just a measurement tool, it's the bottleneck of performance. Ultimately, horsepower is a story of resistance. It's a testament to the fact that we can only understand our strength by measuring it against something that tries to hold us back. Next time you see that HP figure, don't just think of speed. Think of that giant wooden clamp. Think of the heat, the friction, and the sheer mechanical will required to keep that shaft spinning against the world's desire to keep it still. So, I have to ask, if your car is defined by the brake, what's holding your engine back?